협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
If you think back to your childhood, playgrounds, 놀이터, they probably take up a big part of your memories, right? It was very common for people, and especially kids, to spend hours on the playground after school, even on weekends maybe, making friends, playing, and sometimes, yes, even fighting. However, community landscapes are changing and the low birth rate, well, that means fewer kids, more time indoors, and therefore less need for playgrounds? So here is yet another scene of how the changing population is changing the way we live. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Tuesday, March 11th on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. Welcome to our program. I hope you're doing well. Oh, goodness. Personally, yesterday I had a very challenging, long day. But you know what? I feel so refreshed. I went to bed really early and I'm, ready to go. So, what playground games did you play as a child? What were your favorites on the playground? These playgrounds were staples of your childhood memory, I'm sure, whether you grew up in Korea or elsewhere. But these days, many apartment communities here are actually getting rid of these playgrounds. This is especially the case for older apartments upon changing demands. With fewer and fewer children, older apartment complexes are voting to get rid of playgrounds and tennis courts and turn them into parking lots. And statistically, this might make sense. There were over 9.9 million children under the age of 15 in 2000. Last year, that dropped drastically to under 5.5 million. So considering these population changes, playgrounds are now less desirable features in apartment complexes. And many are looking at kind of limited days, right? The government is also boosting these changes through revisions to existing laws that allow for a 2/3 majority vote to pave the way for these types of structural changes. These changes are happening out of necessity. Because when you think about it, parking lots, like if there is a lack of parking lots in your apartment, that is also a huge issue too. It is still a better look into how our communities and populations are changing and aging. And I'm very curious, wavers out there, near your home, do you have a playground? 여러분 그 집 근처에 놀이터 아직 있나요? So I kind of want to send that out to you, a question about the playgrounds in your neighborhood. Are they still there? And that is our main theme for today. Well, for a text topic. Yesterday, we briefly talked about childhood songs and nursery rhymes. And of course, Sue shared a little yesterday as well. So today's question is this. What were your favorite songs or nursery rhymes as a child? 자, 웨이버들, 어린 시절 가장 기억에 남는 동요는? And I hear, like back in the day here in Korea, like 동요s were like a thing. I think there still are, but back in the day, there were programs like dedicated specifically to this genre, correct? And maybe you participated in something like that. So what were like your childhood songs? And as soon as I saw this on my script, I was kind of like, I don't really know that many Korean like 동요s because as many of you know, I went when I was 3, so I don't remember singing a lot of those Korean songs. So some of the English ones, real quick. that I grew up on. And of course, share with whatever culture, whatever country you're from. Share with us your favorite childhood songs or nursery rhymes. So this one I used to love because there was like action. Does this remind you of anything? If you're watching on YouTube? The wheels on the bus go round and round. That was one of my favorite. And then how about the Hokey Pokey? Because I love songs where there's like lots of dancing or action, right? You put your right hand in, you take your right hand out, etc. So those two are my, I would say, top 5. And I'll share a little more with you later on. And then Korean 동요s, I have one that really stands out in my mind because my kids used to love this song because they went to nursery school here in Korea. 아거떼, is that what it's called? That one I'm not going to sing because I'm going to butcher it. But you guys know, at the saying it goes, and then 아거떼, that one. That one's a really cute one as well. So enough of me. I want to hear from you. You can send in your messages to BEFM's live stream, live chat on YouTube. Go to the YouTube platform, search for BEFM, and you'll see our logo. Click on it to subscribe, log in, and chat with our other waivers. Also, on your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 101. You can reach me for free through Kakao Talk. So yes, same thing there. Search for BEFM and add us. And you can send in your messages, photos as well. The ways you can listen to us these days on the radio, 90.5, 103.3 FM, depending on where you are in Busan. Like I said, we are streaming live on YouTube as we speak in real time. You can watch again at your leisure. We have 2 apps, the BEFM app and also the Patbang app where you can listen to the Wa글와글 segment. For our lineup today, it's Tuesday. We have Andrew with Sports Insider and Bonnie with The Health for a special interview. How about this? Kind of a which would you rather? Living forever versus living fruitfully. I know plenty of people who say they want to live forever if they could. And others who say, my time might be limited on Earth. However, I want to live to the fullest extent. And you may have also heard of people like Brian Johnson dedicating like a lot of money and resources into kind of like these anti-aging endeavors. So we're going to delve into this in hour number 2. I'll be back with today's headlines. It's now 7:07. These are today's headlines. Police to designate special anti-crime zones for impeachment verdict. Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency said it will designate the areas around the Constitutional Court as special crime prevention zones on the day of President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment verdict. North Korea fires multiple ballistic missiles. North Korea fired multiple ballistic missiles toward the Yellow Sea yesterday as Seoul and Washington launched their annual military drills. Air Force reaffirms human error in accidental bombing. The Air Force yesterday reaffirmed that a pilot error was the main cause of an unprecedented bombing of a civilian town in Pocheon last week, apologizing for the mistake. Singer Hui-sung dies at age 43. Singer Hui-sung was found dead at his home in Seoul yesterday, police said, with no signs of foul play. Trump declines to rule out recession this year. U.S. President Donald Trump said that the U.S. economy was in a period of transition, declining to rule out recession as a response to his tariffs. And these are today's headlines. It's time for Busan Updates. We have Sue in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Catherine.
Hey, so, in honor of yesterday, we touched upon this, but what, is your favorite song or from childhood or nursery rhyme? Do you have one?
Yes, I have a few.
Uh-huh.
Do you like Acacia Flowers, acacia flowers.
I do. Why? Is there a song related to it?
Yes.
Oh, really?
The title is called 과수원 길. So like, orchard trail.
Yes, yes.
Do I need to
A little bit, because I don't know the
Tune in a little
song, or I don't know the title of the song. Maybe if I listen to it, I might remember. So.
very shortly.
Yes.
동그박 과수원길 아카시아 꽃이 활짝 폈네.
Oh, are
you
you
have to go
doing
like this.
the 동요 pose I like.
Okay, so
No, it does sound familiar. I just never knew the title of the song.
Oh, I see,
I've heard it,
it's very sentimental.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Oh.
It's spring, so I thought that it just pops up in my head.
And
yeah.
like when kids sing the 동요, there's like a why always
right?
the hand clasping, but I noticed that.
You have to look neat and you have to look 착해.
Like 착해 and
Yes.
like so calm and
as
like
pure as possible.
oh, pure as the snow. Okay. Any others that pop up?
열꼬마 Indian.
I
think
yeah.
It's
But
the same as the American version.
It is. But
Yeah.
like these days, it's kind of like politically incorrect, so we don't sing that anymore.
Right.
But I do
right.
remember definitely
Yes.
from my childhood, the one little, two little.
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Definitely. Oh, so thanks for sharing. We're going to dive into our first update. So this is regarding a new station, so Echo Delta City Station, which will be established along the Busan to Busan double track railway section, right?
Yes. So the plan to establish Echo Delta City Station was originally set in March 2014. However, due to delays in the development of the Echo Delta City area and a lack of foot traffic, the plan was cancelled. But now, with the area growing, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport has approved the construction. So the ministry plans to proceed with the detailed design and permits next month, with construction set to begin in November of next year, and a goal to complete it in the second half of 2028. So for the next 3 years, trains will pass through the station without stopping from Busan to Masan line, and the construction will cost about 69.5 billion won, 695억 won.
I see. Well, where is the location exactly of this Echo Delta City Station?
So it will be located between 강서금호 Station and 부경 Racecourse Park Station, 부경 경마공원역 in 강서구 district.
Okay.
And as a result, 6 new stations, 사상, 강서금호, Echo Delta City, 부경 Racecourse Park, 장류, and 신월 will be added to the Busan to Masan Railway, while Changwon Central and Changwon Masan Station will remain unchanged. And the line will shorten the Busan to Masan distance from 87 kilometers to 51 kilometers and cut travel time from 1 hour and 33 minutes to just 38 minutes. And the Busan to Masan double-track railway is expected to undergo trial operations at the end of this year, marking its official opening for after 16 years since it was designated as a private investment project in 2009.
Well, I'm sure many people are so happy that this is happening. So thanks for the update on that. All right, next up, let's talk about our city, Busan City, providing 10 billion won in support to companies and small businesses affected by the high exchange rate right now.
Yes, the support is available to importing companies or small businesses that can confirm trade transactions within the last 6 months via the import performance certificate issued by the Korea International Trade Association. And each company can receive up to 100 million won, 1억 won, with 2% of the interest difference covered for a period of 5 years. And the maximum guarantee limit will be calculated based on either half of the current year's sales or the larger amount of the sales from the most recent 6 months. And this support is available regardless of the representative's personal credit score. So it is particularly beneficial for businesses with low credit that are struggling to secure additional loans.
Yes, yes. So we need further details of this because, who's eligible, who might not be. So, yes.
Yes. So loans will be restricted for businesses with tax delinquencies, unpaid dues, closures, property violations, seizures, and credit issues or bankruptcy.
Okay.
And the application period for the support started yesterday, and it will run until March 31st or until the funds are exhausted or the Korean won US dollar exchange rate reaches 1,300 won, 1,300 won, or lower by December 31st. And applicants can submit the required documents at the Busan Credit Guarantee Foundation or Busan Bank branches. And meanwhile, in preparation for the Trump storm that is impacting ally countries, the city is activating its export crisis support system and the trade and commerce response team to identify and address on-site business challenges and provide support to the specific needs of companies, such as offering assistance for overseas logistics costs.
Yes. So hopefully this will be of great help to the small businesses and companies out there. Next, we're going to be talking about World Glaucoma Week. So for this, Busan's Gwangan Bridge will be illuminated, lit up in green light. So first, we need to know, what is glaucoma in Korean?
녹내장이요.
Yes. So what's happening?
So the Busan Facilities Corporation announced that on March 12th at 8:40 p.m., the bridge's scenic lighting will turn green for 20 minutes. And in addition to Gwangan Bridge, major landmarks across the country will also participate in the green lighting event.
Yes.
And in the 2nd of March every year, this lighting event takes place during the World Glaucoma Week.
I see. So let's talk about glaucoma itself. What exactly is it? Because we've probably heard of it and maybe a family member might suffer from it. What is this?
Yes. So it's a disease that damages your eyes, like optic nerve. So it usually happens when fluid builds up in the front part of your eye, and that extra fluid increases the pressure in your eye and gradually narrows the field of vision and damages the optic nerve. And many forms of glaucoma have no warning signs. And it can happen at any age, but it's more common in older adults. And one of the leading causes of blindness for people over the age of 60.
Oh.
But blindness from glaucoma can often be prevented with early treatment.
Sure.
So the Korean Glaucoma Society is actively promoting public awareness campaigns to emphasize the importance of early diagnosis and encourage preventive measures.
So definitely a good thing for awareness. So we are better aware, we can get early treatment, prevention, etc. All right, next, let's talk about Jeongwan Museum, which will be hosting the 소두방 Children's Museum Classroom. So what is this about?
So the Jeongwan Museum prepares various educational programs every year based on the daily life of the Three Kingdoms period, 삼국시대. So this year, participants will dress up as chefs and experience making food models using ancient cooking methods and ingredients from that era. So the program is called Accidental Chef, 어쩌다가 요리사. It is for 1st to 4th grade elementary school students.
Ooh, so we need details of the activities for the program.
So students will learn about ancient cooking methods and tools, explore related artifacts in the exhibition, and they will complete quiz-based missions to earn mission cards. And with those cards, they can exchange them for ancient cooking tools and create their own food models. And they will present their ancient recipe and food model, then vote for the Michelin chef of the day.
Oh,
yeah.
That's fun.
And the program will run on the 3rd Saturday of each month,
Sure.
세 번째 토요일, from March to June, starting March 15th this week at Jeongwan Museum from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And from April to June, registration opens Tuesday at 10 a.m. online in the same week as the session.
Yes.
And there's no session in May due to other programs. And the March 15 session registration opens today at 10 a.m.
Sure.
And it's limited to 15 participants per session, first come, first served. For more details, please contact Jeongwan Museum or check out Busan Integrated Reservation System.
All right. Thanks for all the activities. We have a message, I guess, because of your singing, saying, 수님, 오늘은 어떤 노래를? So I don't know if they're asking, they were maybe questioning what the song was, but thank you for all the updates. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Catherine.
All right, back to you. The waivers out there for your traffic and weather. It is now time for your traffic report right now. It is backed up on 만덕대로 from Minam to Mandok intersection. Also congested on Dongso overpass from Pomnikgo ramp to the old Kaegum tollgate. And heavy traffic detected on Nakdong Namno from Myeongji toward Ulsukdo. Also slow going on Chungjangdaero from Jungangdong intersection to Chungjang overpass. Currently, it's 5 degrees Celsius here in Busan with clear skies. Daytime highs expected to go all the way up to 15. So as you just, might have noticed, 5 and 15, there's a big gap there. So you might want to dress in layers. Across the nation, spring-like weather with mostly clear skies. Temperatures about 5 degrees Celsius higher than usual, but that also means big temperature differences between night and day. If you're in the capital area, Sejong or Chungnam, find-us levels are bad in these areas. It's going to be one of those mask days if possible. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for News Digest. We have Haley here. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm having a good old time looking at all the song titles that are coming up. And so I'm going to ask you, though, first. What's your favorite?
My favorite, the one that still lingers in my head, and there are classics like the ones being mentioned on our board, but there are also the trendy ones, and some of them change. And in my era, it was 개구리, 올챙이, 개구리, 개울가에 올챙이 한 마리 꼬물꼬물 헤엄치다 뒷다리가 쑥. And that was biological and anatomical because that's how we learned with tadpoles. It's 뒷다리 first. Because it's not up, then it's 앞다리.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was the trendy one. And then who said the 한국을 빛낸 100명의 위인들 아름다운 이 땅의 금수강산에 that my nephew who's in the second grade now. Are you in the third grade? What are you? Third, second, something? Third grade. He knows it because they used to play it in his daycare school bus.
I see.
But all the kids thought it was 당근 할아버지 instead of 단군 할아버지 because how would they know? So they were like, who's this carrot grandpa? No.
Very interesting. Thanks for going down memory lane with us. We're going to jump into our first news. Business in South Korea shows no signs of being on the up and up.
Bad news here, but that's also not surprising at this point. So with the continued low demand that's been going on for so long, businesses just cannot cope anymore.
Right.
So in the past 2 months, over 200,000 business owners have closed their shop. So according to Statistics Korea, as of January of this year, there were a total of 5.5 million business owners or self-employed persons, 자영업자, in the country. This is lower than the figure that was in 1997, which was in the middle of the so-called the IMF or the Asian financial crisis.
Right.
And this is also the lowest since January of 2023.
Yes. So what do experts say about this dwindling number of businesses?
Right. So it's not only economic, but it's also psychological. That some people, or people mostly, we're still cutting down on things like eating out and spending money. And that's been going on ever since the COVID pandemic. pandemic. So businesses kind of held on during the pandemic, thinking there is a light at the end of that particular tunnel.
Yes.
However, then this led to the inflation crisis and overall the tariffs right now. So now they're starting to give up. And then on top of that, at least during the COVID period,
Yes.
they got a lot of financial support in terms of loan deferrals, 대출 만기 연장, and interest rate support. Those have ended as well, which puts further strains on these business owners.
Right.
So experts therefore call for kind of a change of paradigm in terms of support because during times of economic crisis, going back to 1997, the government encouraged people to start their own startups, have their own business because large corporations just weren't hiring. However, given the situation and the strain on business owners, the policy, according to some experts at least, it should be shifted to supporting business owners who have closed down shop and re-entering the job market.
Indeed. And so, this is not a great snapshot of what's going on in the country. But, while we're on the topic of business shutdowns, a lot of gas stations have been closing shop, and that really affects a city's landscape.
Right. So according to Korea Petroleum Quality and Distribution Authority, or K-Petro, about 700 gas stations close their doors every year. And K-Petro also says that over 63% of all gas stations that are operating right now, they have the lowest 1% of sales profit.
Wow.
So it actually, though, costs a lot to close up shop. You just don't, shut your shutters and leave.
Right.
It actually costs 150 million won or 1억 5천만 원 to close business.
Ooh, so what makes it so expensive? It's not just about when, like you said, like closing your doors.
Right.
I'm assuming you have to tear down the structure, and there might be some ground.
Exactly. So we have to go to the
Contamination.
ground for that because
Okay.
it's a gas station. So
Yes.
there is a bit of ground contamination. So you have to cleanse the soil around the station. So
Sure,
토양 정화, and that of course is expensive. But if you think about it, most of these gas stations are shutting down because of economic reasons.
Sure.
So the owners don't have 150 million won lying around to cleanse that soil.
Right.
So this is why a lot of these stations, what they do is they just suspend business. So they shut down without shutting down on paper, which would require them to go through the necessary procedures.
Right.
So that means these structures are abandoned. And there is, there's always something eerie about a closed down storefront.
Yes.
But when we're talking about an entire structure like a gas station, you just saw on our YouTube page, there is something particularly eerie.
Yes.
It looks very odd. So it's number one, it's an aesthetic problem for the city. Because they do stand kind of towering over, and they're usually over busy intersections or busy roadways. However, there are, of course, safety issues. And then if these stations, though, if they're on private property, there's nothing local governments can do. They can't really, it is private property. So policymakers and those in the industry, they do call for governmental support, at least for the soil cleansing part.
Ah, yes, understandable. And once again, not great for the city landscape. We're now going to go to that story over a bomb that was mistakenly dropped over a village in Pocheon. So the Air Force held a midpoint briefing of its ongoing investigation. What was said?
Right. So the Air Force confirmed again that the direct cause of this mistake and the accidental bomb dropping was due to the pilot or the pilots entering the wrong coordinates. Again, that was 좌표입력 실수. So there were two pilots. They were working side by side. The first pilot, what happened is they called out the coordinate, and the second pilot entered it into the flight data equipment. But in the process, there was one wrong number entered in.
Sure.
Although it's unclear whether that wrong number was called or the right number was called, but just the wrong digit entered. So we're not sure about that. And then on top of that, the pilot, once he got into the jet, did not conduct the triple check procedure because number one, they should have confirmed the coordinates, called it out again and
Yes.
checked with each other. They didn't. And then during the flight, the first pilot apparently sensed that something was a little off because this is a route that they've taken before. They did it in a practice sequence, but they noticed it's a little bit off from the practice sequence, but because they felt that they were in a time crunch, they just blindly trusted the coordinates, which obviously should not happen. So there was no visual confirmation either.
Myriad of
Right.
mistakes.
Right.
Another issue was that the Air Force took about an hour and a half to brief the press after I mean, so obviously,
Right,
this huge, accident happened.
Promptness and transparency, they are a key in these situations, but they
Right.
didn't really happen. So the Air Force was apparently trying to look for the debris of the bomb, 폭탄 파편, or 잔해. So the Air Force also confirmed that there were mistakes made or shortcomings in how they confirmed and reported the process, not only to the press, but also up their own chain of command.
Sure.
So the Air Force Command realized this mistake 3 minutes after the bomb was dropped, but they focused on confirming that it was indeed their own bomb. So that's why they spent time looking for the debris. And they should have also worked closely with the local military, the police, and the fire department, but that didn't happen. The command also delayed reporting this via phone to its superiors and omitted the paperwork process entirely. So that led to delays in the Defense Ministry finding it out and also the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So the Air Force Chief of Staff General Lee Young-soo said that the accident, number one, should have never have happened.
Sure.
And took full responsibility and also stated that the Air Force will fix its customs to make sure that this never happens again. Again, apologizing to the victims and those affected, promising full support.
Okay, well, that's the latest on that story. For our next story, if you have plans to go abroad, you should get vaccinated for, are you ready? The measles.
But
the measles.
Haven't you already? Is the question.
I thought I was already vaccinated.
I thought so too. So measles are back, and this is 홍역.
Yes.
So as of March 6th, there have been 18 measles patients reported in South Korea.
Right.
And they include 13 people who visited Vietnam and 5 others who came into contact with patients. By the way, of the 13, only 1 person was vaccinated for measles.
Oh.
So that's, again, check.
Yes.
I'll tell you how in just a moment. But
Okay.
measles, what are the symptoms? Fever, coughing, runny nose, and then the telltale rashes, the 붉은
That's
반점.
right.
So according to the World Health Organization, or the WHO, it counted 330,000 measles patients across the world, but that's as of February 11th. Highest site came from Europe, followed by the Middle East and Africa. However, there were thousands of cases reported from the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, and China, all of which are common destinations, whether for business or for vacation for South Koreans.
Right.
The Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, the KDCA, therefore urged people to, number one, check your vaccination history and get vaccinated. You can do this on the KDCA 질병청's 예방 접종 도우미 function. You just look up 예방 접종 도우미 on the
Okay.
portal site. So I did it yesterday. You do have to register and register your resident registration number. But it tells you, it gives you a full history of your vaccination. Although if you're of a certain age or if you have history living abroad, I think I might be both, it doesn't tell you the old history. It's just not updated into,
Right.
because I am of the blue health insurance book generation rather than the electronic systems generation. Yeah, so I got to go get that checked. Anyway, so because it is highly contagious, vaccination is urged if you have plans to go abroad.
Yes.
It takes about 2 weeks for the vaccines to kick in. By the way, the vaccines are most effective prevention measures, over 90% effective after your second dose. By the way, in the States, the U.S. reported about 200 measles cases
Right.
with 2 deaths, with most patients being minors. 96% of those infected, not vaccinated, because there has been this anti-vaccination line of thought movement, with some people espousing these unconfirmed beliefs that vaccines can cause autism. It's not proven. So please get vaccinated.
Right. And a lot of the cases I hear are in Texas, just so to give you a heads up.
Right.
That's where the majority of the cases are. Now for our final story, we're going to meet Canada's new Prime Minister.
Right, time to update your kind of geography, political B knowledge. It is no longer going to be Justin Trudeau in a couple of days. It's going to be Mark Carney. So he started his victory speech with this vow to win in the trade war against the United States. Let's take a listen.
I will work day and night with one purpose, which is to build a stronger Canada for everyone. And my government will keep our tariffs on until the Americans show us respect. And Canada never, ever will be part of America in any way, shape, or form. We didn't ask for this fight, but Canadians are always ready when someone else drops the gloves. So the Americans They should make no mistake, in trade as in hockey, Canada will win.
Ooh. I think we have a Canadian on deck who's going to have opinions about this.
Okay.
Yeah. About
Andrew?
hockey.
Yes.
About hockey.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Not
yeah.
politics.
Anyways, the Liberal Party voted Carney to succeed longtime leader Justin Trudeau with the next general election expected to be called in the next few weeks. So he actually might not be prime minister for that long, depending on what party would be in power.
Yes.
So Carney, interestingly, never served in elected office, but he won this resounding victory with 85.9% in the first round. Why? Because he is the econ guy. He is also British central banker. So Carney's bit of history, educated both in the US and the UK, Harvard, and then Oxford. So, and a decade of working for Goldman Sachs, the investment firm. So he is actually steeped in crisis economics because he began his tenure as the governor of the Bank of Canada amid the global financial crisis in 2008.
I see.
So back then he was credited with taking quick and decisive actions and for helping to spare Canada from a series of downturns. And then he actually headed the Bank of England for 7 years and left after Brexit. But again, his lack of political experience has raised questions amongst critics, but we'll see if the econ guy is the fix that they need right now.
Right. So changing landscape for Canada among many countries right now. Thank you for all the news, and we'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
All right, back to you, the waivers out there. We're talking about 동요 today, your favorite songs or nursery rhymes. And, I see some songs, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't know all the songs that are being put up on the board, but Taejin is talking about 아빠와 크레파스. Oh, I guess that's a common song. Yes. How about, I think, was it JB? He mentioned a song that, what is it? The 무궁화. Can you put a Haley's mic? Because I don't know that song. 됐어요? Okay. That one. That song apparently people know as well. Do you remember? I know this one. 이거는 기억나요. Because I used to hear it when I came to Korea when I was really, really little. Something about the 텔레비전에 내가 나왔으면 정말 좋겠네. 정말 좋겠네. Is that how we're supposed to do it? I don't know. I have no idea. But I do remember that one. So that brings back fond memories. And I do apologize on behalf of Morning Wave and Busan, the singing between Haley and me. All right, let's get to Cat's Pick for today. It's time for Cat's Pick. So today, it's a serious one. An armed man was shot by the U.S. Secret Service personnel. This happened Sunday morning at local time outside the White House. So let's get to the clip from NBC News.
Tonight, troubling questions after a shooting overnight near the White House.
Respond for the shooting, 17th East Street, Northwest.
Just after midnight, Secret Service saying their agents shot a man after an armed confrontation with law enforcement, after they were notified yesterday of a suicidal individual traveling to D.C. According to 2 senior law enforcement officials, the suspect is 27-year-old Andrew Dawson, driving this white Chrysler sedan from Indiana.
Units approached from the 18th Street side.
That's when just 1 block from here, authorities found the man's parked vehicle and then spotted somebody who matched the man's description here, and that's when shots ensued. The close proximity of the gunshots to the White House heightening new concerns about security around the president, who spent the weekend in Palm Beach. President Trump survived an assassination attempt last year at a Pennsylvania campaign rally, and then while golfing on his West Palm Beach course 2 months later. Sean Curran, who was the Secret Service special agent in charge of his detail during the Butler attack, is now the agency's director. The security of the president and Vice President Vance of pinnacle concern. Vance, with his 3-year-old daughter, approached on the sidewalks of Cincinnati on Saturday by protesters supportive of Ukraine. Vance posting that the protesters followed us around and shouted as my daughter grew increasingly anxious and scared. though noting it was a mostly respectful conversation.
I had said, if I talk to you for a few minutes, will you leave my 3-year-old daughter alone? And you said yes. So I'd like you guys to respect it.
What else are we learning about that suspect tonight?
The Secret Service says that Dawson was transported to a nearby hospital, though his condition at this hour is still unclear. Authorities also, though, said that they did, in fact, recover a gun from the scene.
So that is what went down. They did have to shoot this suspect because he apparently pointed the gun at himself and then at the Secret Service officers, and hence they had to take action. This in this day and age where security is tight and there are heightened, there's a heightened atmosphere right now because there is a lot of divisiveness in the States right now. This was Cat's Pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is time for Andrew, our sports insider. Good morning.
Hello, you guys chirping the Canadians there earlier.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So, I want to hear about your favorite childhood song, nursery rhyme. What comes to mind?
I heard you and Haley talking about this, and I can't think, like Hickory Dickory Dock or these kind of things, but
The mouse
I don't
went
know.
up the clock.
Yeah, but then
How about everybody out there, including Andrew, of course? Do you guys realize that I didn't realize until I was an adult. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and ABCD, they're the same song. A B C D E F G, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It didn't dawn on me until I was an adult that it's the same melody. Did you know?
Okay.
Did you know? 알았어요. 반짝반짝 작은 별 A B C D E F G.
Do you know there's other ABC songs?
I'm sure there are, but I'm just saying the one that is most popular,
Yeah.
they have the same melody. Okay, I thought it was
What's
special.
your favorite Korean nursery rhyme? Sorry.
Okay, I don't know about rhymes because I have no memory of them. But when my youngest was
Yeah.
a little baby, she was obsessed with bororo. I mean, obsessed.
Yeah, sure.
So we
I think
had her
that's
learn
that's a
it in
given.
Korean and English.
Yeah.
Do you know the English version?
No.
You got to start with a, hey, it's bororo.
Yeah,
and,
and it just seems
dun,
odd.
Dun, dun, dun. I love to play all day.
Those
That's how it
songs,
goes.
those TV shows,
Yes.
there's 4 shows. They're all the same.
Right.
When they would come on in English, my kids would look at me and go, what's going on?
What's wrong with bororo? Why is he speaking
Why is he
English?
speaking English? I would say, though, for me, is
Yes.
that Komsemeri. That song would probably be one, because I like the line where it's like, Appa kom un dung dung hey.
엄마가
So, yeah.
맨날 싫어.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
I have the English version to that too.
Oh, well,
I'm just
everybody,
saying.
welcome to Kat's Nursery Rhyme Show.
No. JB님 사랑합니다. 대단한 발견입니다. But I think he meant it sarcastically. He meant it sarcastically, but I'm taking it as a compliment.
No.
Okay.
Be careful. Be careful.
I know he's kidding. Okay,
All
let's
right.
jump into the world of sports.
World of Sports, baseball, KBO, Lotte Giants. Woohoo! It's a new year.
Woohoo!
It's a new day.
season.
Yeah. So the KBO has actually set the season hasn't started yet, so everyone slow down out there. But it is a preseason, all right? And, getting ready for the season. They set a new single-day attendance record for a preseason day this past Sunday, drawing a combined 71,000 fans across 5 exhibition games.
Ooh.
So now, I know some people are listening, and if you're not in Korea, maybe you live in an area where there's a pretty large stadium. You're thinking 71,000 is actually not that much. But this is early March in Korea
Preseason.
for preseason ball
Yeah.
or spring training ball, however you want to call it. So this surpasses a previous day's record of 67,000 and change, which itself broke a 2015 mark. So Saturday broke the previous mark and Sunday broke Saturday's mark. So it was pretty awesome to see. The excitement in all the stadiums. I had some friends who were over here at Sagic.
Yes.
Now, they kind of set the stadium up a little bit different. They closed the bleacher seats to kind of, I would assume, to move everybody in, all right, on either sides.
Yes.
And there were 17,000 plus at Sagic.
Wow,
on
just
Sunday.
at Sagic.
Yeah. It looked like, a weekend game, in the middle of summer.
But I have to say, starting last season, I mean, baseball's been hot.
Yeah, even for teams that weren't doing so well.
Right.
Which is fantastic. I think
the
it was
Giants.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I also think that it's a lot of coming out of COVID, it was a big uptick in that. I think it's a lot of younger people wanting to go to the ballpark. It's also still quite cheap to go to a professional baseball game here in Korea.
I agree.
Compared to some other sports, it's cheaper than soccer.
Yes, definitely.
So which you can probably tell by the amount of fans that are at the games.
And Souvenir says 매년 올해는 다르대 맨날 같은데 meaning we look forward to every season. We do the woohoo, yay, and then by the end of the season, it's always there's always next year.
Yeah, well, hey,
next year.
The past two seasons they came close to the playoffs. They've made some additions.
What is wrong with our team?
Hopefully, yeah. So the preseason will finish up next Tuesday, and then the regular season, so opening day across the country, will be on the 22nd of March. Which is quite early, I feel, but yeah.
So let's say it together. 우리 같이 외쳐볼게요. This is our year on a count of three.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
This is our year. Lotte fighting?
Yes. Okay. 왜 자꾸 진짜 그래요? I'm being optimistic. This is our year. We're gonna have a good year.
We need a PD cam.
Yes.
That we can turn on her.
I know.
Right?
And I want to turn the mic volume up, down, up, down.
Yeah.
Cut her off.
But it would just be constantly her.
Yes.
If we hit turn on her mic, it'd be belly. Look at her face. I love it.
Let's move on to our next sport, which is
soccer.
Oh,
All
yay.
right. So South Korea men's national team is gearing up for two crucial World Cup qualifiers here at home this month. Now, head coach Hong Myung-bo has announced a 28-man squad for matches against Oman on the 20th and Jordan on the 25th.
Right.
Both are here in Korea. This is for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Now, there has been some roster changes, I would say, and there was kind of with the crop here that's in Korea who showed up for training and stuff like that. In the last get together, he's kind of gone away from some of the guys, which is, a lot of people were kind of surprised about.
Yes.
And just saying that they didn't seem as focused as maybe they needed to be, and was looking to go with a lot of the European midfielders. And then also, there's going to be 9 K-League players there. Majority of those are going to be on the back end, I would believe, and up front. But the midfield is almost all going to be from, overseas, except for one player from Gimcheon Sammu, Lee Dong-kyung. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Now, for this one here, the matches will be played outside of Seoul. And we've talked about this a few times, where the pitch conditions at the Seoul World Cup Stadium had just been abysmal. And they actually, I was looking on it was on Yonhap actually, and they were showing some photos of the current state of the pitch. And it's not great. It's something that you would think, this isn't a slight at Seoul City by any means, but you would think they would want to have that there because you're going to get the economic, boost from it. Of course. Now, where the games will be played, it's not going to be as good, for the gate, I guess, for the KFA, because they're not going to be able to fit as many people. 6,000 people can fit in a Seoul World Cup stadium. It's going to be significantly less where they're going to be playing. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure in Goyang and in Suwon it's going to be packed out, which all games usually are.
Yes.
But it's also nice to give people in those areas a chance to head to games as well. But, we'll be following that, and I'll be having an update when we get closer to those games.
Okay. So we went from baseball.
Yeah.
To soccer.
Yeah.
And then more soccer because our Busan iPark team, are they still in League 2?
They are still in League 2.
Okay.
You know, they got off to a pretty slow start in the first week of the season, but secured an impressive 2-0 victory this past weekend in K-League 2 action, climbing to the top half of the table.
Okay.
Which is nice. The match saw Busan's South American forward shine with Fessin and Paul Villero scoring first half goals. And if you can find these highlights, I'm pretty sure I saw them on No2, but
yes,
they are some pretty amazing goals. And, you know, I follow iPark quite a bit. You know, I go to a few games here and there. But I don't know. These are just goals that I don't usually see in K-League 2.
Okay.
And so definitely go, please check them out. Now, into the second half, Busan made a surge back, but we're not able to get past Busan's defense. And, you know, it seemed like the manager's tactical adjustments kind of paid off. And his team was able to keep a clean sheet and get all 3 points.
Yay. So where do they need to be if they want to move up to
automatic promotion is first place, and then there will be a playoff after that.
For the second spot?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, here's hoping. Knock on wood. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Well, iPark, wasn't the only team to get a big win over the weekend, so I guess we have to, if we really have to, talk about Liverpool.
Yeah, let's get to a clip.
Liverpool have been good at doing this season when they have gone behind, finding a way back into games. Luis Diaz on a really good run. Nunez! That's brilliant! It really is from Liverpool. Luis Diaz, the creator. Darwin Nunez, the executor. For a penalty, Luis Diaz goes on, and it is a Liverpool penalty. With a chance to go in front. And Salah scores wonderfully well, as if there is ever any doubt these days. Well, Salah to finish the game for Liverpool. Well, it is as emphatic as it could be. Perfect penalty.
Yay! Andrew's team is doing well. Yay.
Go, Liverpool.
Yes.
So Liverpool are on the cusp of securing its first Premier League title since 2020.
They deserve it, though.
And as a fan, it's tough for me to be able to say, like, when people are like, do you think you're going to win? I always say, it's not mathematically in the clear yet, so I won't say that. But it's looking pretty good.
We're getting there, right?
Looking pretty good. 15 points clear at the top of the table with just 9 games remaining. Now, the Reds recently came from behind to defeat Southampton 3-1, as you could hear in that clip from Liverpool TV, which, and then Arsenal drew against Manchester United, which for Arsenal fans, I don't know.
Man United this year is just
exactly. So in the top 4 also, you have Nottingham Forest, who knocked off Manchester City this past weekend.
I mean, Nottingham Forest.
Yeah,
compared to last year, can you believe?
Yeah, no. I really, really hope they can continue and secure. I'm sure they're going to have a spot in Europe somewhere.
Right.
But they want the Champions League. It's going to bring a lot more money to the club, and then also maybe some more big name signings and things like that. Yeah.
Santos, is that his name?
Yeah. So
former Tottenham.
Yeah, former
Didn't do well at
Tottenham.
Tottenham, but doing very well at.
Well, I guess when you're given a chance, that's the difference.
And not just that. I mean, I don't know. They're doing something right there.
Yeah, something in the water.
Clicking. Yes.
Something in the water.
Okay.
Now, a quick shout out to, we're going to move to the ice here now, and Alexander Ovechkin. We've talked a few times about this throughout the season.
Yes.
Little updates on the Russian forward who plays for the Washington Capitals in the NHL, breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal record of 894. He's at 886 right now, and he might actually do it in fewer games than Gretzky.
Oh my God.
There's a chance.
Because he is like, if you don't even follow hockey, but you've heard of Wayne Gretzky, right?
That's the best thing you could say right there. Yeah. So the thing is with this is that, he also this past weekend had 1,600 points, making him only 11th player in NHL history to do this. But there's so what's going to happen here apparently is when he's within 5 goals, there's Wayne Gretzky and the commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman, are going to kind of follow around to the games because there's going to be a massive presentation like a golden stick or something like that. I don't know what they do, but yeah. So it's,
we have a question from Leslie.
Sure.
Does Korea have ice hockey leagues?
They do. Well, there was the Asian League. All right. So that originally was Japan, Korea, and China. It's kind of changed a bit as of late. I'm not 100% sure if the Chinese team is still involved.
Okay.
But then actually this past weekend, the Korean University League or tournament, I guess, wrapped up with Yonsei winning that. And there's 4 teams in that. So yeah. And then there's like, the guys I play with on Sunday nights. I don't know if you're, I wouldn't call us a league, Wirely veterans, I'm not sure, something like that. But yeah,
well,
there is pro hockey in Korea.
Oh, of course, and plus, like the Olympics and all the amateur sporting events. But thank you.
All right,
we will check in with you next week. Bye, Andrew.
Bye.
And yes, of course, we had the sad news regarding Hyesung. So here's a song as requested by Souvenir, "Raindrop" by Hyesung.
소나기가 내려온다 내 머리 위로 갑자기 말도 없이 젖어버리겠네 추억이 흘러내린다 딸의 눈물도 흐른다 바보처럼 집에 가는 길 아직도 멀기만 한데 우산도 감기 걸린 것만 같아 이 길이 네가 있는 그곳으로 가는 거라면 젖어도 좋은데 Oh raindrop, oh raindrop 사랑이 참 야속하구나 Oh raindrop, oh raindrop 사랑은 저 빗방울처럼 나를 주셔버리고 다시 그때처럼 아프게 하는 감기 같은 걸까요 아주 오래전 쓴 이별을 얘기하고 너와 함께 예전처럼 이 빗속을 다시 걸어갈 수 있다면 얼마나 좋을까 Oh raindrop, oh raindrop 사랑이 참 야속하구나 Oh raindrop, oh raindrop 사랑은 저 빗방울처럼
부산 영어방송
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지. 부산의 축제는 우리의 열정을 가득 담고 있습니다. 바쁜 일상은 잠시 뒤로하고 특별한 시간을 선물 받는 바로 이곳 부산에서 우리의 삶은 축제가 됩니다. 축제로 하나 되는 부산, 여러분은 어떤 축제를 기다리시나요? 이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 BFM 부산영어방송이 함께합니다.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Welcome to Busan. Let me show you around. Here you can find the world's largest musical in-ground fountain and the world's only UN memorial cemetery. Stroll along the coast and explore the largest mountain fortress in Korea. As well as all this, there are so many tourist attractions, beautiful exhibitions, vibrant culture, convenient facilities, and delicious foods unique to Busan. With all the beauty and charm of the amazing city of Busan, you'll find yourself right at home in this ever-changing tourism paradise. So stay with us a while. Busan, your #1 tourist destination. Your home, away from home. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, Busan 영어방송.
지금 방송 광고라는 부메랑을 던져보세요. 소비자를 향해 정확히 날아가는 광고. 힘차게 돌아가는 경제. 부메랑처럼 다시 기업의 이익으로 되돌아오니까요. 방송 광고, 경제에 큰 힘이 됩니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning.
Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It's now 8 o'clock. This is News Highlights. Police to designate special anti-crime zones for impeachment verdict. The Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency said it will designate the areas around the Constitutional Court as special crime prevention zones on the day of President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment verdict. Acting Chief of Seoul Police Park Hyun-soo announced that Dongno-gu and Junggu districts will be divided into 8 zones, with a local police chief overseeing safety and crowd control in each area while working closely with firefighting authorities and other relevant agencies. Police officers are also being trained to use expandable batons and capsaicin, a chili pepper extract, and will likely be placed under the highest level of emergency duty, which enables the mobilization of up to 100% of available police forces. North Korea fires multiple ballistic missiles. North Korea fired multiple ballistic missiles toward the Yellow Sea yesterday as Seoul and Washington launched their annual military drills. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, or JCS, said it detected the launch from the North Hwanghae province around 1:15 p.m., noting that it may have involved close-range ballistic missiles, CRBMs, which have a relatively short range of less than 300 kilometers. The JCS said that it has bolstered surveillance and maintained a full readiness posture under close cooperation with the United States. The White House has reiterated the United States' commitment to the complete denuclearization of North Korea on Monday local time. Air Force reaffirms human error in accidental bombing. The Air Force yesterday reaffirmed that a pilot error was the main cause of an unprecedented bombing of a civilian town in Pocheon last week, apologizing for the mistake. Air Force Chief of Staff General Lee Young-soo issued a public apology during the interim probe briefing, along with plans to bolster the inspection of missions and strengthen safety training on live fire drills for all pilots. The number of houses damaged from the bombing has grown by 10 to a total of 152, following a third survey of the sites, said the Busan municipal government. Singer Hui-sung dies at age 43. Singer Hui-sung was found dead at his home in Seoul yesterday, police said, with no signs of foul play. His agency, Tajo Entertainment, said they are heartbroken over the news. It also asked for privacy for his family during these difficult times and to refrain from unsubstantiated rumors. Hui-sung debuted in 2022 with the hit album Like a Movie and rose to popularity with his R&B-based songs and soulful singing style. Trump declines to rule out recession this year. U.S. President Donald Trump said that the U.S. economy was in a period of transition, declining to rule out recession as a response to his tariffs. All three major U.S. stock market indexes plummeted Monday local time as investors dumped their shares amid rising concerns over the trade war. At the close of the day, the Dow Jones fell by 2.08%. The S&P 500, which tracks the biggest American companies, fell by 2.7%. And the tech-heavy NASDAQ down by 4%, its biggest drop since September of 2022. And this was News Highlights. It's time for Waga Waga. Haley's back in the studio.
Hello, hello.
Yes, indeed. So we're going to dive into our first story. This is regarding a local government under criticism for its International Women's Day promotion material.
Right. So it's a little bit of a belated story, but this happened over the weekend. So Gyeonggi Province on Saturday, March 8th, which was International Women's Day, posted several posters promoting its women's policy to commemorate this day.
Okay.
But the issue that some people took with it is that all the posters feature men at the forefront. So we're going to throw up the visual in just a moment. But the theme was, the byline was women's policy to make dad, husband, and boyfriends smile. So it was 아빠가 웃는 여성 정책, 남친이 웃는 여성 정책, and 남편이 웃는 여성 정책.
But
which on International
Women's Day.
So let's just kind of parse through it. It's great that we have gender equal policy because gender equality is all about all genders, right? Because you know, but once again, the day was International Women's Day. Right. So the policy focused on things like funds for paternal, so fathers leave, organic produce for expectant mothers, child support, and safety. And this was safety packages for women who live alone, which was titled as the policy that makes your boyfriend smile.
The wording.
Yes. So, like possessions of. So the comments included, can we only celebrate or commemorate Women's Day with male approval or supervision? Why is 4.5 work days a week a women's policy? And why is there more mention of men than women on International Women's Day of all days? So once again, while the policy is headed in the right direction, the packaging and the when of this all seems to have problematic. So upon controversy, Gyeonggi Province quickly deleted the post and then apologized, saying that they did not reflect the meaning of International Women's Day through these posts, especially women's rights and gender equality, and added that they will consider gender sensitivity in making these social media content from now on.
Right, and I do wonder, what the thinking was behind making this content for this very particular day.
Right. Yeah, interesting.
Okay. Up next is an interesting court case that put a heavy price on cheating.
Right, so we're going to talk about affairs and cheating. There's a wife who's filing for a 15 billion won contract violation penalty. 15 billion won.
So that is...
Right. 150억, right? Yeah, 15 billion, 15억, 150억. Yeah.
Yes.
For 위약금. But this is against the husband's girlfriend.
Not the husband.
Not the husband, but
husband's the
other
other
lady, the other woman.
The other.
Can we say the M word?
I don't know. We'll just say the other woman.
Yeah, okay. All right. So this is via a YT and radio lawsuits case. So
Okay.
it's a real case. So the wife found out about the husband's affair with a colleague. And the couple, by the way, the married couple, they have
Yes.
3 children together. I know. So the wife, she was kind of trying to resolve the situation. So she met this woman and had her sign a contract, sign a
really?
pledge
Saying
that I will never meet up with or contact this man again.
Meaning said husband.
Said husband.
Like your husband.
Right. Yeah. So my
Yeah.
boyfriend, her boyfriend. From now on, if she does, she will pay 10 million won, 1,000만 원 per attempted contact or meetup. Right.
Ooh, wait. I'm trying to do the math.
Right. Okay. And then, but the affair continued. And my goodness, it continued because the segment didn't really specify a time period.
Okay.
But they violated the contract 1,500 times. So that's 1,000만 원 times 1,500, which comes out to 15 billion won. Simple math. So this is how much she filed the lawsuit for.
Yes.
Yeah.
So big question is this. Will this actually go to court though?
I mean, she it's a free country. She can file for however much she wants to. But realistically, okay, so apparently the case is in kind of still the lawyer's consultation phase. But the lawyer who was on the show explained that, 10 million won per contact isn't unreasonable.
Oh, really?
However, so it's just for one time.
For one time.
But under South Korean civil law,
Yes.
if this penalty is deemed as unreasonable or excessive, the courts have the authority to reduce it to a certain extent.
Okay. There might be a cap.
Right. So while 1,000만 원 isn't that out of the realm of possibility, 15 billion won, 150억, is.
Okay.
So the case would likely to be admitted at about 100 million, like 1억 won, 100 million won
the
range.
cap might be.
Right. So yeah.
I'm so curious as to how
This is...
I'm not smiling and wishing ill on other people.
Right.
But I do want to know the law.
I hope they figure out the situation, especially the children. But yeah, legally, it's a fascinating case.
Leslie wants to know, how does she verify how many times they met?
I think... Well, in Korea, there are the dashboard cameras are so common, and this is from my extensive experience watching these shows on television. But yeah, dashboard cameras, cell phone, data.
Or she might have hired
a
private investigator to follow.
That's
and
true.
Get evidence.
I'm sure there are ways.
But we're not sure.
Yeah.
This is just all allegedly and conjecture.
I'm just mind blown.
We're just saying, generally speaking, that's how you might go about getting evidence. All right. Let's move on. Next story is yet another controversy over casting, and this is for a live action film.
It's like a monthly story at this point, right? So we're going to talk about Disney's live action film adaptation of Snow White. I saw the trailers for that. It's going to be released later this month. The titular role of Snow White went to Rachel Zegler, who is facing casting backlash, although she's not the only one. So Rachel Zegler comes from a Colombia and Polish background.
Okay.
So she is not white. I'm just going to say bluntly. Yeah. So some people have said that her skin does not fit the description of Snow White, who's supposed to be, quote, in the story, fair or white as snow.
And there's a photo of her on our Notu page. You can get a glimpse of...
By the way, she's incredibly talented.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
But we're just talking about the appearances. So she also made comments back in 2022, I believe, saying that the original Snow White is a little behind the times, that the prince is basically a stranger who stalks Snow white. Which, in a modern view, yes. But then fans of the original content say that is rude to say about this film that you're now a part of the cast.
Okay.
On top of that, the evil queen is being played by Gal Gadot, who's openly advocated for Israel.
Yes.
Interestingly, going back to Rachel Ziegler, she has promoted the film with the Free Palestine flag on social media. So we have the two top-billed cast members clashing politically, at least outside of the set. So yeah, Disney actually expects this backlash to be so bad, it's scaled back on its London premiere. So it's usually these blockbusters have huge red carpet events. They're gonna just do a private press junket.
Because they have a budget for lots of PR, but they're scaling back. So
yeah, so interesting, right?
I mean, because the description is in quotes, as fair as snow.
Right.
And hence the name Snow White.
Because fair can be pale-skinned or beautiful.
Yes.
But since we're adding as snow, it's assumed that it's, we're talking about fair-skinned
person.
Right.
Yes. We're going to end it on a non-controversial, hopefully note, heartwarming note. Many of the Catholic faith are praying for Pope Francis, his health. In the meantime, there are, heartwarming moments from the Pope's past that are resurfacing right now.
Right. So this video is from Italy in 2018, but it's kind of resurfacing over Argentinian social media in the wake of the Pope's illness. He's hospitalized currently for double pneumonia, but the Pope is, by the way, the first Argentine Pope. He's actually the first non-European Pope, I believe. So this back then in 2018 was kind of a Q&A session with children at a church on the outskirts of Rome.
Yes.
Here, a young boy, and we'll kind of throw the photos, a young boy named Emmanuel, he steps up to the mic, but he suddenly bursts into the tears. And the man that you see is the cardinal.
Yes.
So the cardinal kind of comforts him, but the Pope, who's on stage, he invites Emmanuel to come closer and gives this boy this very warm hug and holds him while he's crying. The reason he's crying, he's afraid his father's going to go to hell.
Oh.
Because his father's an atheist.
Oh.
There's
nothing wrong with being
There's
an
nothing
atheist.
wrong with being an atheist.
Just the boy's worried about his
concerned about his father's afterlife. So the boy asks the Pope, my father is an atheist, but he had his 4 children, including himself, his siblings, baptized. So will he be able to go to heaven after he dies? So what the Pope said is incredible. If we could only cry like this boy when we have pain in our hearts, basically the world would be a better place. His father died, by the way. So just this courage to do this in front of many people, because he is able to do this because he has love in his heart. And by the way, to that question, which is kind of a theological question.
Right.
If you're a non-believer, will you be able to get into Christian or Catholic heaven? Well, the Pope says God has a heart of a father. His father was a good man. He's in heaven with God. Since God has a father's heart, would God ever abandon a non-believing father who baptizes his children? And actually gave more credit to an atheist father baptizing his children than, say, a believer who would follow his belief. So yes, that's the answer. There we go.
Okay, well, thank you for going over all the Wagley stories. And Leslie has pointed out one thing about the whole Snow White controversy. And she writes this. This is what she's thinking. I think the controversy with the story in today's world is because the prince has to kiss Snow White to wake her. However, she is unconscious.
That's true.
So she can't give consent.
Right.
허락을 요즘 세상에서는 허락 없이 키스나 뽀뽀하는 것도 문제가 될 수 있는 that's the society we live in. So, all of these kind of like fairy tales, they might be kind of aged.
They definitely have. I read a book about, looking at fairy tales through a modern lens. And I mean,
there are issues.
The lawsuits that can stem from those. Yes.
All right. We're going to leave it there for today, though. Thank you so much. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
And here is your updated traffic and weather. It's now time for your updated traffic. It looks backed up on Mandakdero from Minam to between Minam and Mandak intersections in both directions right now. It's also congested on the Dongso overpass from Seomyeon to Ganman ramp. and heavy traffic on Gwangnam-lo from KBS 3-way intersection to Dongbang 5-way intersection in both ways. Slow going on Jungwangdaero as well from Chwacheon 3-way intersection to Yeongju intersection. Currently, it has gone up to 7 degrees Celsius. Under clear skies, it's going to go up to 15. Across the nation, spring-like weather with mostly clear skies. Temperatures about 5 degrees higher than usual. However, this also means that there's a big difference between night and day. If you're in the capital area or Sejong or Chungnam, finest levels in these areas are bad. So if you can, please wear a mask. This was your traffic and weather. This is Kashi by Pudge as requested by Benny.
너 없는 지금도 눈부신 하늘과 눈부시게 웃는 사람들 나의 헤어짐을 모르는 세상은 슬프도록 그래온다 시간마저 데려가지 못하게 나만은 널 보내지 못했나봐 가시처럼 깊게 박힌 기억은 하나도 아픈 줄 모르고 그대 기억이 지난 사랑이 내 안을 파고드는 가시가 되어 제발 가라고 아주 가라고 애써도 나를 괴롭히는데 아픈 만큼 너를 잊게 된다면 차라리 앓고 나면 그만인데 가시처럼 깊게 박힌 기억은 하나도 아픈 줄 모르고 그대 기억이 지난 사랑이 내 안을 파고드는 가시가 되어 제발 가라고 아주 가라고 애써도 나를 괴롭히는데 너무 사랑했던 나를 그게 두려웠던 나를 미치도록 너를 그리워했던 날 이제는 놓아줘 보이지 않아 내 안에서 너 잊으려 하면 할수록 더 아파와 제발 가라고 아주 가라고 애써도 나를 괴롭히는데
Some good songs being requested today. For today's text topic, we've been talking about nursery rhymes or favorite songs, all the 동료s that you remember. So many people harking back to, their childhood years of what they enjoyed. And a couple person brought up se. Do you guys remember that one? Se. And then I don't know. I know the hand motion, but I don't remember the lyrics. And I had to ask my producer, like it's something like 푸른 하늘, 은하수 something. And I was like, and then I asked her, what is 은하수? And she looked at me like I was a weirdo. And then she explained it's the Milky Way galaxy. She couldn't remember off the top of her head. So she looked it up for me. So there are cultural differences, definitely. But the whole point about 동요, all these children's songs is that it kind of takes us back to an age where we're kind of pure in heart and thought and mind, maybe. So I was thinking maybe we can kind of look back on our former, years and kind of find that child within us today on this Tuesday. How about that, okay? Finding a purer Catherine or a purer Umberto when we were children and so much more innocent, not so cynical like we are today. Anyhow, just food for thought. We're going to get to our special interview. In recent years, listeners, the pursuit of extending human life has gained significant attention with individuals like tech entrepreneur Brian Johnson, whom you may have heard about, dedicating substantial resources and, of course, time as well to anti-aging endeavors. Johnson's project blueprint includes things like a really strict diet, exercise, experimental treatments, all aiming to kind of reverse the aging process. And let's face it, this whole eternal journey to find the fountain of youth or whatever it is these days, these types of pursuits do raise questions about the ethical implications and societal impacts of striving for immortality. We have invited to the airwaves Dr. Richard Gunderman, who is the Chancellor's Professor of Radiology, Pediatrics, Medical Education, Philosophy, Liberal Arts, Philanthropy, and Medical Humanities and Health Studies at Indiana University. So let's say hi to him first. Hi, thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. So first of all, Professor, if you could explain the scientific basis behind some of these current anti-aging experiments. And, I mentioned Brian Johnson because he's been out there, really promoting his beliefs. He's on social media, etc. So can you explain what's going on right now?
Well, some of the measures he has in mind and is in fact practicing are pretty conventional. At least here in the United States, we think most everybody needs to consume more fruits and vegetables. We'd love to see more people get exercise. We'd all benefit from higher quality sleep. But he's also advocating some things that, to my knowledge, do not have a firm scientific basis. For example, it's been reported that he's received blood transfusions from younger individuals, at least one from his own son, and I'm at least not aware of any scientific evidence that prolongs life.
Yes, indeed. That was definitely one that raised a lot of eyebrows all around the world. So can we also talk about the potential risks and maybe even the benefits of these kind of like pursuits of longevity, trying to live till you're, to 100 and beyond? What do these types of risks pose to individuals first? And are there any benefits as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that so far as we know, no human being has ever been documented in a reliable way to have lived beyond 123 years. Now, that doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but we have no proof of it. On the one hand, if you're a world-class scientist or a very important political leader, maybe an artist, maybe a public servant, prolonging your life probably would be of great benefit to people in your community, or who knows, maybe humanity in general. On the other hand, if you're a tyrant, a totalitarian dictator, the capacity to expand the human lifespan might not redound to the benefit of the citizens of a country or even humanity in general. So we always have to keep in mind whose life are we extending when we think about the benefits and potential costs of doing it.
That's true. That's true. And, this quest for extending life, how does this impact our understanding of, we talk about longevity, like it's a fantastic thing, but what about the other aspect of having a very fulfilling, purpose-driven or a meaningful existence?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. All of us would probably say on the spur of the moment, yes, I'd like to get an extra 10 years or even just an extra year of life. But on the other hand, many of us find ourselves puzzled and not sure how to proceed when it comes to making the most of a weekend afternoon. Maybe we need to focus at least some of our attention on making the most of the time we already have, rather than becoming preoccupied with a longing to extend our lives even further. If we're just passing the time, what's the point? And if we can learn to make each day count for more, then maybe it makes sense to think harder about how we can live longer.
Right. And it's not just like what's trending now or with Johnson. There's always been this kind of movement by people, whether it's looking for the fountain of youth, whether it's like cryogenics, like how to become immortal, it seems, or even to at least live a very, very long time. What do you think is driving this? Do you think there's this like innate human desire to live a really, really long life?
I suspect that's true, and I suspect many of us are pretty uncomfortable with the idea of death, and maybe particularly alarmed at the prospect of actually dying. But I can tell you, one of the great works of literature in world civilization is Homer's great epic, the Iliad. The gods are immortal, live forever. But in fact, in that great story, it's the human beings who actually live lives of moment, because they're the ones who can choose what to lay down their lives for, or at least what to stake their lives on. So they're the lives of the mortals, the people who are going to die, actually have a much greater seriousness about them, and they have the opportunity to display virtues like courage that for the immortals aren't even possible.
And I have a comment from one of our listeners saying, all these anti-aging regimens seem to all to do with like physical health and like physical beauty, but what about cognitive longevity, asks one of our listeners.
That's a great point. The biggest risk factor for dementia, for example, Alzheimer's disease, is age. And the risk of developing it goes up with each additional year of life. Probably before we prolong the lifespan of our hearts and our lungs and our kidneys, we need to invest some serious time prolonging the health of our brains, because who wants to live an extra year or decade in a state of advanced dementia? My guess is no one.
Right. Very, very, what you said, and of course the question as well noted. In terms of the ethical considerations, because that's something we have to think about as well. Are there any ethical concerns when it comes to the possibility of significantly prolonging human life? I mean, ethical questions as well. And also kind of like I also want to ask about the economic aspect as well. I mean, it just seemed like all these life, longevity, these types of pursuits, for people who have money or ample wealth, it might be something that they can pursue. But for people who are just grinding it out every day, do we even have time to think about this?
That's a great point. When we talk about life extension, we need to ask, extending whose life? Brian Johnson and the other Silicon Valley titans are immensely wealthy individuals who can devote the time and attention to supporting this sort of research. But for most of us, those discoveries might not be available, or at least available for a long time. So they may not be evenly distributed across our population. And in terms of the ethics of it, one consideration is what generation in human history deserves to live markedly longer than any other, or perhaps forever. As more people live longer, the space, so to speak, available for new people, namely our children and grandchildren, begins to be encroached on. And I, for one, would not want to say that my life is so important that I should postpone having children, or maybe not have children or grandchildren at all, just so I can have the privilege of living a longer life. You know, I want my children and grandchildren to have an opportunity to come into being and enjoy life as well. And at some point, if all the rest of us refuse to die, there simply won't be room for those subsequent generations.
Right, and not just room, but what about the I go back to the economic aspect of it. I mean, for example, in the States, Social Security, I mean, it's not going to be able to provide the funds for every person who lives long lives. So as we wrap up our discussion today, Professor, how should society really balance this pursuit? Because we all get it. I mean, who wakes up saying, oh, I want to, die early? I mean, most people, I'm sure, would opt for, if I can, I would love to live a longer life. But how do we balance longevity versus kind of nature's limitations on that?
Yeah, maybe nature possesses some wisdom that escapes us. Maybe there's a limit to the human lifespan for a reason.
Yes.
But here's what I would suggest. We should take the best care of ourselves and each other we can, both physical and what you called cognitive health.
Yes.
We should try to remain active, capable, contributing for as long as we can. But we need to remember that the universe doesn't exist for any one of us or even any single human generation. And at some point, it's an act of generosity, I think, to be willing to pass on life to those who come after us.
That's going to leave us so much food for thought as we end our conversation. But thank you so much for coming on air with us and sharing your expertise and, of course, your opinions as well. Thank you, Professor.
My pleasure. Thank you.
This was Professor Richard Gunderman, and we talked about this whole idea of, yes, being able to maybe extend life. Is this a real thing? Well, human beings have been pursuing this life of longevity since we know. And the thing is this, as many people are, pointing out, is it longevity? Is it quality? How do we balance both? Well, I think we should all think about that today. So I'm going to let you do the thinking, and we're going to play this song for you. This is Evergreen by Susan Jacks.
Sometimes love will bloom in the springtime. Then like flowers in summer, it will grow.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
Now time for Bonnie and the Health. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yay, and today we're talking about something fun and cheery for our text topic.
Love it.
Favorite childhood song or nursery rhyme or anything like that. Do you remember? What were some of the good ones for you?
I loved Ring Around the Rosie.
Ring Around the Rosie,
pocket full of posies.
And then?
Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. I'm laughing because it's actually not really cheery. It's like a song about the plague and death. But later on I learned, but it is for kids to sing. So I thought it was really funny.
The itsy bitsy spider.
Yeah.
And then you have to do the little hand, right?
Oh, yeah.
The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout.
Yeah. It's so funny that these stick in our brain.
Yes.
After all these years.
Well, they say all the important things you need to learn in life, you learned when you were in like kindergarten or like preschool, right? So yeah, they do stick with you. Very important.
I love the Korean, the Nabiya.
Somebody mentioned that, like, Nabiya.
Is that the same?
Nabiya.
Yes, I loved that one.
And then what was it? Like, 노란 나비, 흰 나비. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Loved that one.
Yes, Bonnie and I remember like we
going down memory lane.
Don't remember the ending of all the Korean 동요s. All right, we're gonna jump into our topic. What have you brought for us today?
Okay, so today I'm going off of the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
We covered fasting, and then I covered the master cleanse that I was on, which was kind of fasting for about a week. But a question that I got from so many people was, "Aren't you hungry? Aren't you hungry? You know, fasting, and then how do you do that? Aren't you hungry?" And so I kind of went in deeper and research on hunger, because there was a certain point, especially during the master cleanse. And if you didn't listen 2 weeks ago, master cleanse is basically a cleanse that you just drink this lemon concoctions, lemon juice, maple syrup, cayenne pepper. So only drinking that for about a week. But I briefly mentioned this during last week's episode on fasting, that the craving, the appetite, hunger kind of subsided after a little while. It wasn't like you're hungry for 7 days. It would kind of go in and out. And it's kind of amazing to think that you're not hungry after not eating solid food for days. So there are some reasons why, and I'm going to go over today's episode on how to control your hunger and cravings. And also I wanted to go over this because there are on the market now, there are these kind of diet fads where people can get like an injection or like a shot, and it kind of makes you lose weight really fast.
Semaglutide,
Yeah. So these are getting kind of popular. So I want to give everybody kind of a holistic, more natural option or way that you can, maybe you're looking to lose a couple pounds, or maybe you just want to tone up a little bit, but you're looking for kind of quick fixes. So instead of that, like I said, fasting and those kind of things can be another alternative to those pharmaceutical options.
The quick fixes.
Yes. And, you know, obviously curbing your hunger might give you insight on why you might be overeating or why you might be gaining weight. So let's go into it. So what controls your hunger? Well, hunger is triggered by a mix of biological, psychological, and environmental factors. So I'll go into detail on all of those. The biological triggers. So this one is something I mentioned last week, but very briefly, the hunger hormone. We actually have something that is released from our gut called ghrelin. Ghrelin is some like a hormone that's released from your gut that tells you when to eat, that you need to eat.
Yes.
So when that is released, it's telling your brain, oh, we're hungry, our gut isn't being satisfied, we need to eat something. It's kind of like a hormonal clock throughout the day. It's telling you, okay, we need to eat something, we need to eat something.
Okay.
But this can also be trained. So if you are somebody that eats at the same time every day, it's something regular, you're on schedule, that ghrelin is going to be released during those times, whether or not you're actually hungry.
Okay.
You get me? So sometimes maybe if you are feeling that pang of hunger, but you just ate, or you're actually like, I shouldn't be hungry. It's that ghrelin being released, not necessarily your hunger. It's telling you that you need food.
Sure.
So sometimes look at the time of day and think, oh, I'm usually eating at this time, so maybe this is why I'm getting that hunger craving. And ghrelin is released when we have reduced glucose levels. So maybe you're not getting enough glucose in your system. That is what's going to be releasing that ghrelin, and then that activates the neurons in your brain, and that's going to tell you to eat. So this will come back later on. But another hormone that is released is CCK. And this reduces the level of hunger. So this is released when you have enough omega-3 fatty acids, amino acids, and sugar. So when you have enough of that, your gut tells your brain, okay, we don't need any more food. We are full. We are satisfied. We have what we need. We don't need to eat anymore. So other hormones that kind of can affect your hunger level are also leptin and insulin.
Okay.
So we'll go over these a little bit more later on, but just remember those. So we also have psychological and emotional triggers. So sometimes high cortisol levels, these can increase your cravings, especially for carbs and sugars.
Sure.
Also boredom or emotional eating. We've heard of this.
People around me, people are already saying like, oh, like, sometimes I definitely need this. I try to eat something even though I'm not hungry.
Yes.
Like, if you're bored, you might reach for something.
Yeah, and that's sometimes emotional. If you're feeling sad, sometimes tend to go towards like comfort eating, things that make you feel good, because eating certain foods does give you like a dopamine high, right? It triggers something in your brain, makes you happy, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you need that food. And then also we just get food cravings, right? If you smell or see certain kinds of food, this is why those commercials work, those late night commercials, and you see fried chicken or people munching on things. Yes, they know what they're doing. So they're accessing that trigger in your brain that's telling you, oh, that looks really good. Even though I'm not hungry, it looks or smells good, I'm going to get it, or I'm going to order it.
It's so true, because like I stay away from like late night, like ramen and all that, because it makes you really swollen in the morning. But sometimes, when family members.
Oh, yeah.
It's very rare, though. I have to say, my family's pretty good. We don't do a lot of midnight snacking. But, during the weekend, once in a while, someone busts out like some ramen.
Oh, yeah.
And the smell.
How can you resist?
That smell. And then so I just go, okay, I'm going to go to my room.
Out of sight, out of mind.
No,
and out of smell.
Yeah, out of smell. Because that's a powerful thing, right?
Yes, definitely. And also something else can affect your hunger is your exercise and physical activity, of course. This can either increase or decrease your appetite depending on the intensity.
Sure.
Okay, so I've given you a couple of leads on how or why we get this hunger. I'm going to give you some hunger hacks. Some things that you can do so you can decrease the amount of these hunger pangs you're going to be getting or your cravings. But also, I want to never, ever, ever starve yourself. When you are feeling hungry, there's a reason why. Your body needs something. So I'm giving you these hacks on what you can do to kind of reduce the amount of the cravings. But also, it's never to say, like, don't eat at all.
Don't starve yourself.
That is not a good weight loss regime or like a quick fix way. There are ways to do it safely. So like I had mentioned last week's episode, the fasting things. So if you're doing it correctly, there is a way, but don't just kind of starve yourself. Never want to say like dieting, just reducing your amount of food that you're taking in is a sustainable way to diet. But first up, avoid sugary and processed foods. I think this is the most important one. These blood sugar spikes, and this is something I've been talking a lot about, lead to the quick crashes and make you hungry again.
Yes.
And a lot of processed foods, this is like packaged foods to make it easy for everyone. If it comes in a package, it is probably processed. If it has a long ingredients list, it is probably processed.
Right.
They have lots of emulsifiers. These emulsifiers, they go into your gut and they disrupt that hormonal response. So like I talked about before, that CCK, that hormone that is telling you, oh, stop eating, that will actually never get released when you have things in your gut that are highly processed.
I see.
So those emulsifiers, they go into your gut and they kind of line it and they disrupt that gut lining. So then that hormone that's telling you, hey, stop eating, you're full. If it doesn't come out, then you have nothing telling you, oh, I'm full, I should stop eating. So that's why those sugary processed foods, we can eat a lot more of those.
Yes.
So the calorie count, we might have already reached it, the amount that we need, but we can keep on going.
Bad.
Very, very dangerous for us. Yes. So they disrupt that actual structure of your gut, like I was saying. And the double bad thing is sugar also sends a signal to your brain that releases dopamine. I've covered this before. So that dopamine is telling you, oh, I'm so happy. The sugary food is so delicious. I love this. Yes. So you keep on going because it also makes you happy.
Yes.
So the sugary processed foods, decrease. Have less of these things.
Sure.
Other things you can do, eat more protein and fiber. So, of course, protein keeps you full longer, reducing that hunger hormone that you have.
Sure.
And the fiber slows your digestion and it stabilizes your blood sugar. So many of the things that also help with your cravings are things that I covered about stabilizing your blood sugar.
Right.
So the order of which you have your food and then also a little bit of exercise, either before or after your food. These are also things that are really going to help your hunger and cravings while also stabilizing your blood sugar.
Sure.
Another thing to do is stay hydrated. So, of course, drink plenty of water. And actually, sometimes 50% of the time, you're not actually hungry, you are thirsty when you are feeling hungry. So if you are concerned about this a little bit, when you feel hungry, have a glass of water first.
Okay.
And then if you're still hungry after that, then maybe reach for a snack or maybe it's time for lunch at that point.
Okay.
But try water first or some sort of healthy liquid and it might get you through it.
Yes.
Getting enough sleep, of course, the lack of sleep increases that ghrelin. So we talked about that hunger hormone, it increases it and it decreases leptin, that fullness hormone. So if you're getting not enough sleep, this might be leading to extra cravings and extra meals you're having throughout the day.
Right, yes.
So different kinds of exercise, and there are certain kinds of exercise that can help you with the cravings. So high intensity interval training, HIIT. Yes, those kinds of workouts or zone 2 cardio. And this zone 2 cardio means you are working out, your heart rate goes up, but you can still hold a conversation. So maybe like rapid walking, whatever it is that you like to do. So you're maybe a little bit short of breath, but you can still hold a conversation. And also weight training. All of these are really great for blood sugar control. So doing these about 2 to 3 times a week will keep your blood sugar levels at a healthy zone.
Sounds good so far, yes.
Something else too, eating healthy fats. So fat is not the enemy. Fat actually helps that hormone, that CCK level in your guts tell you, oh, slow down, you're eating enough. So healthy fats such as avocados, nuts, olive oil, these will actually provide long-lasting the feeling of being full.
Yes.
So if you have these within your diet, this will actually keep you full for a longer period of time.
Absolutely.
And of course, managing your stress, controlling that cortisol level, eating slowly and mindfully. Now, this is something that my dad used to tell me, to try and chew my food 50 times.
50 times?
50 times before swallowing. It's nearly impossible, but the whole point was to be mindful of how many times you are chewing your food instead of putting it in your mouth and inhaling and just swallowing. So mindful of how much you are chewing your food.
And don't eat in front of the TV.
Yeah, yes.
No, because you're not mindful.
Yes.
You're like, laughing along or something on your, on your device.
Yeah.
And then you forget, am I hungry?
Yeah.
Am I full? You don't even know how much you've been shoving
Exactly. You're missing that signal, right? Your brain's somewhere else.
Right.
Planning your meals and snacks. And then also caffeine. Drinking coffee, green tea can actually help curb some of those cravings. But don't add all that extra sugar to it. And then using smaller plates. So having smaller portions. Actually, have you ever heard the expression like your eyes are bigger than your stomach? Right?
Yes.
So like you think you can eat way more and then you're full, but you still have half a plate left and you're still eating it. So start off with smaller portions and that actually will train your body to eat the right proportion.
Sure. Wow. So these are like really good tips on how to stave, keep that hunger away and I love the fact that you mentioned hydration because hydration is so important. We oftentimes mistake that hydration.
Yes, it is
and we
key.
Think, yes.
So have that cup of water before we go for the food.
Right. Well, thank you for giving us such good information and also some really great tips on how to kind of control the hunger and the cravings. And I think we had a question for you.
Yeah.
Tommy said, so is intermittent fasting without any, can this help you can intermittent fasting help you forget the hunger and cravings?
Yeah, well, you still will get a hunger ping because after a certain amount of hours, your brain will be like, oh, the gut is empty.
Right.
But after a certain amount of hours, that ghrelin kicks in and you don't actually feel that hunger anymore. So about 8 to 9 hours after you have not eaten for that long, that you'll surpass that hump.
I see.
So it will help you. Yes, it will help you get over that hump. So you won't be hungry for the full time. And I just want to mention all of these information about the hormones, super interesting. I got this off of Andrew Huberman. He has a great podcast and he's really renowned in this stuff. So if you want more information, go look him up.
Thank you. Well, we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Well, it's time to almost wrap up, but not before I remind you that, we are still going through this very dry season. There are certain precautions to take to prevent wildfires. So remember, do not burn rice paddies or banks around fields, agricultural debris, or trash in forest areas. And absolutely ban the dumping of cigarettes, the butts, or fires on the road while driving. Be careful of that. Also, don't carry flammable materials like lighters or burners when you enter the mountains because we want to keep our environment clean and safe and, of course, free from fire. We want to be safe out there. So thank you for joining us today. And, of course, come back tomorrow for much, much more. We're going to end it on this one. 파란 나라 by 혜은이. As so many of you mentioned this song. Enjoy. Bye, everybody.